What made you want to write this book?
It is first time I've ever written a book, and this journey, not just of like having this idea and facing opposition for like 3 years, everyone telling me, my idea wouldn't work or they didn't believe in my dream. And, it's really not just the story of going from like struggling Denny's waitress to billion-dollar entrepreneur, because that's a lot of times what the headlines show. And what I realized, Kathy, about that is like, I get so many DMs from people on Instagram saying, oh my gosh, like you built a billion-dollar business. Like I want that kind of thing. And what I realize is, they're just seeing the highlight reel and they're feeling like the struggles they're going through, like they're alone in them. And when I look back on my journey so far, I just felt like it's time to pour, because like 95% of the book is stories I've never shared before, ever. But they're really lessons, personal and professional lessons that like, had I known them earlier, I would have saved myself so many nights crying myself to sleep. And it's really, believe it, is really a story, my story of a girl who went from not believing in herself to believing in herself, from not trusting herself, to learning how to like tune in and hear my own voice and learn to trust myself. And really a girl who doubted she was enough, on my journey to knowing I am enough. And the reason I wrote it is because like, I just know deep down inside, it's not my story. It's literally so many women's story out there, and men too, who are really on this journey of going, okay, like I know I'm born for more. I know it, but like, I keep doubting it anyway. And it's like, it's truly the intention of this book is just to share and pour into every single person who reads it, and on their journey of going, okay, like I don't always believe in myself now. How do I believe in myself, and how, right? Because the book is packed with like the steps that I took and the stuff I did really wrong and the stuff that I did right that helped me learn how to truly trust myself, even when other people didn't believe in what I was doing, but how to tune in and go, oh, wait, I'm on the right path. And like how this book is really how to step into all that you are and all that you are created to be. And it is, for me, I mean, by the way, donating 100% of the proceeds of the book, all of that. I'm literally just doing it purely because I feel like for me, it's the best work of my life I've ever done, because I get my most joy when I know like, oh yeah, all that stuff I went through, like it's not for me. It's to help someone, be of service to someone else so they can make fewer mistakes, don't make the same ones I made, so they can handle like the setbacks, right? Like the setbacks life throws at us. And especially if you're someone that, has like this desire to create or contribute or launch a podcast or write a book or any of those things, but like your own self-doubt is holding you back at times, or the opinions of other people. This book is really about like how to break through all of that. So I'm just so excited. I'm so excited. Yes.
Well, I don't blame you for being excited. And I really just hold that space for that mission that you want everyone to really read this because you want to pour into everyone. And what's so impressive, I feel, about the book is you really do share the things that make you so relatable. And I think what can happen really easily when you hear that somebody is a billionaire, when somebody has done the uncommon, when somebody has reached this high height, you don't feel at all that you relate to this person. And more than any other person, more than any other guest I've had on the show, when I read these words, I'm just literally blown away. I have like a physical reaction, like it makes me cry because you are so relatable. You are so the girl next door who grew up like all of us with this, like you said, this little inkling that there was something great. And yet the road was very hidden. And the way you were sort of like dropped off on this earth was filled with so much, And so I just really admire that you found your way through this fog, you know, of like really having to like keep trusting and believing. And then the next little clue was brought into your life. I mean, you guys, if you're listening, like here's a girl who talks about her the fact that she was adopted. Here's a girl who is working at Denny's. Here's a girl who your story of how you and your best friend / business colleague, CEO, whatever you want to call her, came to be is also so relatable. Like everything you've done, this is the book that everybody has to read.
I'm like getting emotional. I have goosebumps. I don't think I've ever teared up in like an interview before, but when you just said like, when you grow up and you just have this little inkling, you know what I mean? And I feel like so many of your listeners maybe will relate to this too. You have this like inkling inside where you're like, okay, like, and so often the people around you who love you, you know, even the ones that love you so much, maybe they don't have that same inkling. You know what I mean? And they don't really get it, but you have this little inkling where you're like, okay, I know, like I'm supposed to, share my talent or gifts or skills with the world, or I know I'm supposed to go after that dream, right? Or I'm supposed to, you know, venture out of this town I was raised in, or I'm supposed, like so many of us have that inkling, right? And it's like, but I feel like Kathy, like, and this has been something I struggle with and then I broke through, and anyone who also has the same struggle, I think will really love some of the stories and the tips in the book. But I feel like so many times we know, like deep down inside, we have that inkling, like you just mentioned, right? Where we're like, oh, I just know I'm supposed to start painting, or I know whatever it is, right? And then what happens is like, we end up turning the volume up on our own self-doubt or on like our circumstances around us, or the people who maybe even we love so much, but they're like our circle around us and they don't have that, you know, they're super comfy in their comfort zone. And all of a sudden that volume is like turned up so loud on our self-doubt that we're not even able to hear our own gut feelings anymore. And then we end up like talking ourselves out of our own truth. And I feel like, and I've learned because I've made this mistake, is when we stay in our comfort zone, like it literally starts to chip away at our soul. And this book is about like, okay, like there's so many lessons in here too of what do you do when the circle around you even isn't on that same just like vibe of a calling that you are, right? And how do you handle that? And what do you do about it? And how do you, you know, figure out even how to add some different people to your circle? And how do you figure out how to turn down the volume on the ones you love dearly, but like, they're not helping out your dream any. Do you know what I mean? And sometimes the people even that we cherish the most can actually like keep us in our comfort zone too, you know?
Oh yeah. Yeah. There's a sweet Netflix movie that they made for Christmas called Jingle Jangle. I don't know if you've watched it, but it's so beautiful. Oh, it's so beautiful. And I John Legend wrote the music and Felicia Rashad. And anyway, there's this character. She's like an 11-year-old girl. Her name is Journey. And she sings this song, The Square Root of Impossible. And she's like, it's me. Like, I can do the impossible. I just know it. And I'm watching it. I was watching it the day after I read your book and I was crying and I was thinking about you. And I was thinking about how this title, Believe It, it's just so perfect. How to go from underestimated to unstoppable. And that's what I have to send you the clip of this girl singing. She'll like open your heart like nothing else.
I wanted to ask you, Jamie, like at the heart of this book, and you just sort of talked about it, but at the heart of this book, there's this tension between listening to yourself, trusting your instincts, and heeding the advice of perhaps people who have more experience than you do in a particular area. You know, this idea of intuition versus expertise. How, in your opinion, based on your experience, how does one strike that balance in business and in life?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I feel like that's like the defining question.
For sure.
Of if we end up going after our dreams or if we talk ourselves out of our own truth. And
Yep.
here's what I mean by that is I have the great honor now and great blessing of having so much invaluable advice from experts that's helped me a ton, that's guided me a ton.
Right.
But everyone has an opinion.
Yeah.
And my journey, and I love this question so much, because I think anyone joining us right now or watching this on the replays after, who is maybe a makeup artist or a stylist or whatever it is, and they're doing their own business. My journey was years and years and years of everyone, especially in the beginning, saying that what I was doing, that I needed to change what I was doing if it was going to work, right?
Yeah.
So I have skin condition called rosacea, which is hereditary. There's no cure for it, and gets really bumpy and red. And I was in what I thought was my dream job in television news. And I would hear my earpiece from my producer, there's something on your face, there's something on your face, you need to wipe it off. And it was the makeup breaking up. And long story short, I started like an obsession trying to find something that would work, and nothing did. And that's really what sparked the idea for It Cosmetics. But when I launched the company, there was really, this was pre-YouTube when I first launched it, and nobody was showing real people yet, right? Yeah. And so I had this like vision, what if I show how the product actually works on my bright red bumpy skin? And what if I have models, all ages, shapes, sizes, gender identity, skin tones,
which was
everything.
revolutionary.
Yeah. And I was like, and so then I thought, this makes so much sense, right, Brian? Like intuitively, and I believe every one of us, every person with us live right now, everybody watching this, every one of us has a knowing inside our own gut. I believe it's always right. And I just sat there, and intuitively, I would say to the buyers at all the department stores and the beauty retailers that were telling me no, I would say to them, and even QVC, all of them, for 3 years, they all told me no, I wasn't the right fit. I needed to change our packaging. I couldn't use models that were real people, or it would never sell. And I would say to them, okay, but intuitively, if I'm wanting to buy a product and I don't see someone who looks like me showing, with the product on, how do I know it's going to work for me? Right. And this went on for 3 years, and it was no after no after no after no. And I think every one of us, no matter what journey we're on, has somebody look us in the eye and tell us, no, you're not the right fit. You're not enough. You don't belong. You need to change who you are if you want us to carry your product. And I feel like sometimes experts give feedback, and it's a gift and it's helpful. And a lot of times it's not. And I think our life comes down to learning to hear our own gut instinct and say, is that right for me? Is that advice right for me? Is that a gift? Should I apply that? Right? And a lot of times I would say, oh yeah, that was good. That was good. I didn't realize the font in my packaging wasn't big enough. I didn't, those things. But other times, and this was 3 years, like we got down to under $1,000. Everyone knows the highlight reel, Brian. Everyone knows, oh, this girl sold her company for $1 billion. It Cosmetics today is the largest luxury makeup company in the country. But this is why I thought it was so important to write this book, because when we just see the highlight reel, we feel alone in our own setbacks, alone in our own struggles, alone in our own rejections. So I lay it all out there, because had I ever, like when I look back at the mistakes I made, the things I did wrong, they almost always come down to when I didn't trust myself. Right. And I just think it's such a universal thing. And had I ever, because we have moments in life where it's like our guts on one hand, experts' opinions on the other. And if they differ, which one do we listen to? Right. The defining moments of how It Cosmetics turned into $1 billion company are simply come down to decisions where I didn't listen to people who told me to change what I was doing, even if it meant I could get into their stores. I trusted my gut on the journey. And that's also what made all the difference. Like, even L'Oreal for a long time said to change different things in our meetings, and some of them were so valuable and so helpful. But when we eventually became part of the L'Oreal family, I think why they acquired us is because we were doing stuff so different from all their other portfolio companies that we complemented, right? So anyways, trusting your gut, I think, is the victory in life, not
Yeah.
the outcome of your company.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
you know, you've obviously reached this incredible level of success, and another big theme in the book is goals and being intentional. And my question is, you know, there's a passage early on the book where you discuss goal setting. You even discuss, you know, those keeping, you know, goal setting journals. And I guess my question is, can you be intentional about setting goals and also be someone who's open to enjoying the ride and seeing where the ride takes you? And how do we avoid being detrimentally single-minded?
Yeah, such a good question. I think, and it's funny because in the book, by the way, I don't even know if I've shared this. I'm donating 100% of the proceeds from the book, by the way, all my author proceeds to Feeding America and Together Rising.
Amazing.
I don't know if I shared that. Anyways, we've raised 2.2 million meals so far this week, which is really cool. But so I go there with the mistakes I made, by the way, on burnout, on like all the things. But so I talk about a lot that I did wrong, but to answer your question, one of the things about goal setting, I think this is that really for every person, I think it's so important to enjoy the ride, like to go with it, like set goals. But one of the things I talk about is, you know, a lot of people have a goal and then it never comes to fruition. And I think it's because they don't attach a why to every goal, and not just a why, right? We hear a lot of people say like, oh, what's your why? And companies have whys and mission statements. But a lot of people, especially individuals, and I think this is really important, especially for the Glam Hive audience, anyone who is doing their stylist business, their artistry business, or really just any human being, is that we often will come up with a why for our goal or for our business. And it sounds really good. And when we say it to other people, they're like, oh, that's powerful. And then we stop, but we never actually do the work of like peeling back the layers.
Yeah.
I think this is really important, and identifying like the why beneath the why.
Yeah.
And I think that when you have a deep why for what you're doing, I think that it drives you to something greater than yourself.
Yeah.
So your goals might change, right? You might go with the flow and leave one dream and go after another, but your deeper why for your hopes of impact on the world, I think when they're greater than yourself, I think that's huge. And just one quick example is, you know, for 3 years, I every time I got knocked down or another no, I still get no's all the time. But like every time in those years of not seeing any proof of success, you know, one of the things that kept me going was I had done this work on peeling back the why beneath the why. And I talk about how to do this and believe it in my book a lot, but and here's what I mean. So because I created It Cosmetics, like, you know, I could have just said to myself, oh, my why is to solve my own problems, or my why is to help so many other people who can't find makeup that works for them.
Yeah.
And if I would have shared that with someone else, that would have been like, oh, that's so great. You want to help a ton of people. And I did want to do both those things. But like what I did early on was do the work of realizing like, oh, wow, my whole life I've seen these, you know, television commercials where everyone's photoshopped, and I always wanted to look like that, but yet they always made me feel not enough. Yeah. And I was like, what if I can create a great product, but also like use all different types of models, right? And what if I could try and do whatever I can to shift the definition of beauty for every little kid out there who's about to see these images and start doubting themselves, and every adult who still does. Yeah. And I had that deep, it was like peeling back the layers and going deep. And so, you know, I just want to share for everyone who's joining us today, right now, live, or watching the replays later, who, you know, is a stylist, is an artist, is a creator, is an ideator, is a human being with a goal. This is one of the most important things. And I see so many people never, ever make it. Like, I've had the blessing of meeting tens of thousands of entrepreneurs now. A lot of them give up or they quit. Yeah. And a lot of times, one of those reasons is they didn't do the work of going deep on why is it for what they're doing. Why are they doing what they're doing? And how is it of service in a way that's greater than themselves?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, when we're doing something that's just for us, or just to pay off our house mortgage, or just to, those things sound good, but they're usually not meaningful enough for us to get back up every time it gets really hard and when we get knocked down.
And I think what's so great about the book, with that advice, but the book in general, is your story and what you share in the book. It's so appropriate for budding entrepreneurs. And I think everyone has a little budding entrepreneur inside themselves. But it's just good advice in life when things get rough, when you get knocked down, which is going to happen. That kind of advice, finding the why, helps you pick yourself back up, dust yourself off, and keep going, right?
Yeah, and I think that one moment in the book, and I really shared stories that I hope become other things that other people can just put in their own toolbox and pull from when someone literally tells them they're not going to make it, or when they have friends and family. A lot of us have friends and family around us who we love so much, but when we share our hopes and dreams with them, like they somehow lower our vibration, or like, because they don't dream the same way, or they don't have the same types of ambition, or they see what we're doing through the lens of their own fear or their own lack of experience. And I've heard from so many people, like I get DMs every single day on Instagram from people saying like, I have these dreams, but my partner just like doesn't support me, or and it's like, it's learning how, I talk so much about this, learning how to love everyone around us, but how to like take our microphone back from certain people on certain topics and not hand it to others. And there's so many things in this book for everybody, really, whether they're an entrepreneur or just someone that has that inkling inside. And the one more thought too to share just really quickly too, Brian, is I don't know if you remember this part in the book, but we were about 2 years into It Cosmetics, and I wouldn't even look at my ATM receipt when it would come out, and I'd have to go get $20 cash.
Yes.
Like I couldn't handle looking at it. Because I would physically feel ill. I didn't know how we were going to make it. And we got a big call from a potential investor and a private equity company. And I thought like, oh my gosh, this is going to be life-changing. Like if they invest in It Cosmetics, A, I'm not going to go bankrupt. And B, I bet that they could use, this was a big private equity company. So they had invested in a lot of the products in grocery stores that like have become household names. And like, if they invest in It Cosmetics, maybe they could use their leverage to actually get us into some of these retail stores that keep telling me no over and over and over. I was so excited, and we started doing all the meetings with them, and started the diligence phase, which is when they want you to show them your product pipelines, your all the things, your budgets, your projections. And it got down to the final meeting, and I thought like, this is going to be life-changing. And my husband and I flew up for the meeting, and we were standing about 3 feet from the head guy, and they said, congratulations, we love your product, we really believe in it, but it's a no, we're going to pass on investing in It Cosmetics. And when I said, okay, because I'm so used to hearing no at that point, I'm like, can you tell me why? Like, can you give me feedback? Because usually feedback is a gift. And this guy was like 3 feet from me, and he says to me, do you want me to be really honest with you? And I'm like, yes, please. And he says, I just don't think women will buy makeup from someone who looks like you with your body and your weight. And I remember this moment. Well, first of all, I went in my car and saw my eyes out. But before that happened, I remember 2 things. Like I remember, and I also felt like a lifetime of body doubt and self-doubt like fled my body. It felt like I was staring my own fear straight in the eye when he was talking to me. But I remember this deep feeling in that moment, Brian, when he said that, I just don't think women will buy makeup from someone who looks like you with your body and your weight. I had this deep feeling, like literally, I remember it like it was yesterday, that said he's wrong. Like I just felt it, right? I felt it. And I also, and I know it's what's wild is I never felt anger toward him, or like I didn't even get mad. It hurt, but I didn't get mad, because what I realized, like I had done the work on why I wanted to do what I was doing. He was impacted by his whole life of seeing ads and images, and in his own mind, you needed to look a certain way to make him money. So he was just as much impacted as me. And in a way, because I'd done the work on the why beneath the why, all his rejection did, besides hurt and suck and make me cry myself to sleep, it really fueled me to realize, oh yeah, like this, like things do have to change. And 6 years later, by the way, the day L'Oreal acquired It Cosmetics.
I was going to say, I definitely remember this part of the book.
It was so good. It was, and listen, I didn't need anything from him. I believe in life, like we get what we give. And anyways, but it was kind of fun that six years later, I heard from him, and the day L'Oreal acquired It Cosmetics, it was like the homepage of the Wall Street Journal. It was kind of everywhere out there because they announced it because they're a public company. And so he reached out and he said, congratulations, so happy for you. I was wrong. Yep. And I learned it would have been the most successful investment in his company's history had he invested. But the other thing, oh gosh, this is like my favorite topic. Anyone who's with us now are going to watch the replays, just to share this before I forget. There's a famous saying, Brian, rejection is God's protection. Yeah. Some people say rejection's the universe's protection. Yeah. Anybody who's going through a season of rejection right now or a setback, like for me, it was years of rejection. Yeah. But when I look back now, even though like when you're in it, it sucks and it doesn't make sense. It doesn't feel unfair, all those things. Like had he believed in me, I was so desperate at the time. I probably would have just given him most of the company for almost no money. But because he didn't believe in me, by the time L'Oreal bought us, we were still the largest shareholder. Yeah. And so it was like the best. It was the best that he didn't believe in me at the time, right. Even though when we're in that season of rejection,
doesn't feel great.
Doesn't feel great. Yeah.
Well,
you know, getting fired up, Brian.
Well, I definitely remember that vignette of the book because I remember practically cheering when you wrote about the email that came through. I think one of the other things you talk about a lot in the book is bringing other women to the table, bringing other women into the conversation, bringing other women, into where you are. And I think that's something that you talk about because you were kind of feeling that wasn't happening as much as you wanted to see it happening. Do you think that's changing? And do you think that the attitude of if I bring another woman to the table, my seat will be taken is changing?
I think it's changing. I think it has a long way to still change. I think that it is this antiquated, deep belief that I've seen play out so many times. And I think that in the business world, for so many years, there was no or one woman in a meeting, and it's this antiquated thing. I think in general that someone else is our competition. And what I mean by that is I am one of the stories I share in this book was my own journey of sometimes when you're flying under the radar, you're so underestimated, no one sees you coming. And I went through that experience as a really small brand for a number of years that everyone discounted, nobody thought was gonna amount to anything in the beauty industry. And in that season, everyone was just nice. They don't care. And when we finally started gaining traction on QVC, I went through this moment. And by the way, 98% of the other brand founders, including women, were huge champions of me the whole time. Yeah. But I went through this moment where there's 3 other women in the QVC green room who weren't so happy when I started doing well. Yeah. And it was a really weird experience. And it turned into adult bullying. Like I would leave the QVC green room, sob my eyes out in the parking lot. I didn't know how to handle it. I hadn't gone through it before. And meanwhile, I'm, in my 30s going through it. And it was really embarrassing. I felt like I went through a phase of, is it me? Am I, like, what's wrong with me? Why am I not being loved or included or made to feel like I belong or celebrated? I went through all the motions. I talk about all that. Anyone who's dealt with bullying or not being included, or being hurt by other friends, or having friends betray you. That's really what it felt like. But I went through all the stages of this process, and I got to the point where I realized a couple of huge lessons that were life-changing for me about around this topic. And one of them is that I don't believe, like I remember being in the QVC green room, realizing, oh, they're actually distracted by me.
Yeah.
Like they're distracted by me, but I'm not going to be distracted by them. And I had this moment where I realized, and now I live my life this way, I do not believe we are on this earth to compete with anyone else. I think the only person we're here to compete with is the person we know we're born capable of becoming.
Right.
And I know for me, I'm nowhere there yet. But
Yeah.
I also knew that those 3 women who were bullying me had nothing to do with who I'm capable of becoming.
And you also say, which I think is so right, is that, and I'm paraphrasing, detractors are really admirers in disguise.
Isn't that so good? Okay, so my friend Trent Shelton, this is so good. My friend Trent Shelton said this. He said, haters are just confused supporters.
Right. That's the real quote.
Right. He said haters, he goes, they spend their time commenting online. He's like, that's love. He's like, they sometimes do a different profile to go on and hate on you. He's like, that's love too. He's like, they just have a really weird way of showing it. Haters are just confused supporters. But anyways, yeah, I think, I live my life that way. I think we get in life what we give. I think anyone else, like using what we have to lift someone else up, has nothing to do with our own ability to rise higher.
Yeah.
You know me, like a couple months ago, I get a phone call from the Mel Robbins show about having me on a segment. The first thing out of my mouth is thank you. The second thing is, have you heard Leah Valencia Key's story? And I start pitching another woman who's another female founder.
It's a great story.
Well, great story. And then what ends up happening is I got to the show, they called her, she got her own segment on the same show I did. And it was the most beautiful thing. And I just think that, and one more thing to add to that, because I think when we built It Cosmetics, right? I mean, the beauty industry is crowded. It's jam-packed. A lot of people say it's impossible to break in. And we did break in. And we then—
Did you?
Brian, this is crazy. When I was a Denny's waitress, I would save my tip money to buy like my favorite MAC lipstick or like a Lancome eyeliner. And so all the years when I'd walk in the department stores, and I'd see all those brands, I would dream of It Cosmetics being there one day, but they all told me no forever. And anyways, on our journey to eventually becoming the largest luxury makeup company in the country, which is crazy because I remember when we passed all the brands, I would save my Denny's tip money to buy. And I was just like, God can dream bigger dreams for us than we can for ourselves. But I just want to share one thing about the whole idea of competition. When we, for years, we couldn't afford to hire anybody. And then we finally were, and we built a team of over 1,000 people across the country. And I was so blessed to hire people way smarter than I am in all the different departments. And but one of the things that I did that I think is really unconventional, and I just want to share it because I think someone might need to hear it today who's watching this with us, is, I started, and this happens to all of us, this idea of comparison and competition. And I just remember when I started being able to afford to hire people from inside the beauty industry who had expertise and were way smarter than me in lots of areas. But one of the things they would do is they would continue to come up to me and show me what other brand is doing this and what other brand's hot in the store. And then the buyer from this store wants us to do this because it's selling well for another brand. And the one thing, and I did a lot of things wrong, and I talk about those in the book too, but one of the things I did right was every time that would happen, every time, even one of my own employees or my own leaders in my company would come up and say like, oh, we need to do this because this is hot. Everyone's buying it, It was like, listen, I would say these words to the point where I think they would like probably either walk away and flip me off or be able to repeat them like without me finishing. I would always say like, our greatest threat to our business is not what the competition's doing, is if we actually get distracted by it and tempted to dilute our own authentic secret sauce.
Yeah.
And I'd say that over and over and over, because I think, and I got good at turning down short-term money just because it was hot in a store.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, if you're going to build long-term customer trust, that's the only way to do it. You have to stay authentic to your own brand DNA. Yeah. Like that's your magic, right? Not what's hot now or who's selling for what brand or whatever is going on.
And you talk in the book, you give some examples of other brands who tried to do what you were doing and were not as successful. And it's really simply because, like you said, you're paying too much attention to what's happening what's going on around you and not enough about what's happening in front of you.
Yeah. And it's like, if there's another brand that does what we do authentically, I am so for it. But what I see happening, and it's like, now I look back, it's wild because now I've done over 1,000 QVC shows myself. And I've had the blessing, again, of meeting tens of thousands of entrepreneurs. And in the long run, this is every industry, by the way, whether it's styling, beauty, anything. When you look back over a number of years, 90% don't make it. 95% don't make it. And so the thing I find fascinating is looking back and going, what's that through line in the people that do make it?
Yeah.
And it's wild, Brian, because when I look at all the brands, thousands, and the through line of the ones that have made it, the ones that have built something that lasts, that have repeat purchase rates, that build something that matters, it's not how smart they are or how well funded their company is or how many connections or how hot they are, anything like that. The through line I've seen is literally the ones that stayed authentic to who their own brand DNA, right? Yeah. Their own secret sauce. Like if they're a beautiful artistry brand, or if they're edgy or whatever their authenticity, their authentic positioning is, they don't get distracted when, sea salt in which ocean with glitter is hot, right? They don't get distracted and go, oh, that ingredient's hot, let me do a whole collection around it, and now I'm a natural. No, it's like they stay authentic, even if they're not hot in the moment, because they build customer trust that way. Yeah. People believe when they launch a product that it's special. And I look back, that's who makes it in the long run. That's who makes it. And people have to stay strong because, not to get TMI here, but like retailers have their own goals and everyone wants to make their bonuses. And so everyone puts pressure on you. They don't mean to, but they want you to launch what's hot. They want you to get distracted. They want to have their own success. And you have to be so strong when it's your brand, right? When you're the stylist, when you're the artist, when it's your personal brand, you have to stay so strong. I had to get good at learning how to not people please and how to tell people no. And I wasn't good at that for a long time, especially when I wanted to get in there so bad for so long. They were all telling me no. They finally got me in their stores. And then I had to learn how to say no to them because it was the right thing for the product development long term.
Yeah. So
that's a lot.
No,
I'm fired up.
At the core, though, staying true to yourself. It's just believing in yourself. You're your own biggest.
And trusting yourself. That's the thing, Brian, right? Trusting yourself. Because here's the thing, y'all, that's so hard. It's so hard when all of a sudden, especially any entrepreneurs watching us live right now and watching the replays, when you have been told no and you're not getting the traction you want to get, and then you finally get it, right? Or someone finally gives you a big yes, and then they tell you what to change, you're in this position over and over where you're like, do I trust myself or do I trust them?
Yep.
And those are the moments that change our life.
Yeah.
Those are the moments that define our life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to kind of circle back here because one of the things that I kept getting out of the book, and for those of you listening, this is actually the first physical book that I have read in so long. We have babies about the same. I have a 3-year-old and a 10-month-old. And yeah, so, being pregnant, I had a pandemic baby. It's like Audible is the thing. And I said, no, I'm going to get the physical copy And I'm so glad I did because of the pictures that are in the squirrel picture. Oh, I read that at like the perfect time. But if you guys have the Audible, get the physical book. Like it is so worth it to be able, and then the beautiful picture you shared with your daughter, like that, there are just so many moments that it's so open. Like I feel like I know you, I've never met you in my life. And I'm going through this book and like, wow, like she really just bared her soul, which is so beautiful.
Yeah.
But what really came through in the book is how driven you are by your why. And this why to change the beauty industry, to change the way that to really make real women the star of the show. And I'm curious, now that you've sold your company, now that you've become a mom, now that you're in a different place in your life, are you still driven by that same why? Or has it kind of expanded in a way now that you're an author and so on?
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for that. I think too, the power of your why. And one of the things I talk about in here that I'm so excited you're doing a book club and everything else, because I think doing the work of the why, but then peeling back the layers and going so much deeper on the why beneath the why. I think that so many people, whether they are estheticians or spa owners or launching their own product line or a person that just has a goal in their goal journal, so many people will come up with a why, if they've even done that, right? A lot of people don't do that. They'll see companies have a big why or a mission statement, but then for their own goals, they don't attach a why to it. And I think it's so important to do that because it makes us so much less likely to give up. When we have a really strong why, we can lean on it when times get tough. And one thing I just want to share, especially for your community, is the importance of not just having a why that sounds really good, that when you share it with other people, they're like, that's amazing. Often that why still isn't deep enough to make you not quit when times get tough, or to, keep going when you feel like no one else is believing in you. And, for my why, I could have just said, oh, I want to create a product that solves my own problems, or I want to create products that help so many other people. And that would have been true. It would have been true. But one thing, and again, I did so many things wrong, as you know, that I talk about in the book. One of the things that I did right was I peeled back the layers on the why, like to the why beneath the why. And this is what I want to challenge everyone to do as well, to something that was really deep. And for me, I had realized my whole life, I had seen these kind of commercials on television and in beauty ads and of what the world told me beautiful looked like. And I always aspired to look like that. I loved it. But as a little girl, I realized, oh, wow, they always kind of made me feel like I wasn't enough. And, when I grew up, when I eventually got rosacea and all the things that I was like, why can't I find makeup that works? And then I realized, oh, I've never seen a model with rosacea saying, hey, this is great. And so I had this deep why that came from a lifetime of, I guess, the feeling of not enoughness, where I realized, oh, let me not just create a beauty company, but put real women and men, all different ages, shapes, sizes, skin tones, skin challenges, call them beautiful and mean it for every little girl out there. Like, maybe I can do this in time to prevent other little girls out there who are about to see these images and start doubting themselves, right? And help shift perspective on what is beauty for every adult who still struggles with that. And so that why was really deep for me. And I think that, for everyone in your community, whether their hopes and goals are to, work as an esthetician and just feel joy in their job for the next 40 years, or maybe their dream is to start their own product line or their own, expand their spa business, whatever it is. I just think peeling back the layers, because a lot of times people will have a why that's like, oh, I want to help people, or I want to
make women look and feel their best.
Yes, I want to make women look and feel their best. That's a great one. I want to pay for my kids' college. It could be any of these things. and they sound so great when you share them with other people. You gotta go deeper. And it doesn't mean it's a different why. It means take that why and start going deeper, because I feel like we have to be doing something that's truly meaningful to us, that's so much bigger than ourselves, to be able to lean on and keep going. And I think that's so important. And that's one of the things that helped me keep going during all the years of rejection. It was tough. And anyone in your community who is starting a product business, I'm excited for them to read the book, because I talk also just about, like all the scrappy things and the unglamorous things and the things that what do you do when people copy your product? What do you do when, all those kind of things. But just having that why to lean back on, I think is so important. And I think a lot of people put pressure on themselves for like, what's your purpose? And I think we can have several purposes. And I think that they can continue to evolve. My whole life, I thought I was going to, I would watch Oprah growing up, and I thought, oh, one day I'm going to, share other people's stories with the world and have a talk show. And I was working in my dream job, I thought, as a news anchor. And, but when I got rosacea, and when I started realizing there's this need in the beauty industry for products and a whole new message, I had to know, I learned that knowing when to let go of a dream is as important as knowing when to go after one. And my purpose shifted in that moment. And I chose to kind of trust myself in that. And, now as a mom, definitely, definitely. And also just, I had a moment, I don't talk about this in the book at all, but just to share with you, I had a moment about 2 years ago where I'd all of a sudden realized, oh my gosh, I was in my living room for years. We built to bigger offices, over 1,000 employees, sold to L'Oreal. And I was sitting in this corner office that was brand new. It was my first time sitting in this brand new corner office at the It Cosmetics headquarters. And our new offices were over 60,000 square feet. And my office overlooked the whole Manhattan skyline. And I had this huge bathroom. I don't know why I just felt like a bathroom was a big deal. Like I have a bathroom, and it was like an office bigger than almost any home I'd ever lived in. And I sat there in this moment knowing a couple things. And I just was like sobbing in my office going, wow, this is so beautiful. The art on the wall. Where am I? This is not how I was raised. But also, wow, like I made it. Like that dream became this reality. I felt like I was in the movie Devil Wears Prada, looking around, going, where am I? And I could have stayed there, right? But the mission and the purpose and everything that I had dreamed of, L'Oreal's done such an amazing job at building that out. And, I stayed on as CEO for 3 years post-acquisition, and we doubled the size of the company the first 2 years post-acquisition. The team is incredible. And I sat there in that moment going, oh, wow, right now I could start doing all the cool stuff. Like right now I'm in this office that the world tells me is what significance looks like. I could now go to all the fancy parties. I could do all these things, but I had I'm on the inside, but then I had this feeling of, oh, but you're supposed to serve, in a whole different way that impacts people. You're supposed to share the stuff you've gone through to help other people. Yeah. And I knew it. And it was weird because a lot of people are scared to leave the things that make us feel important or significant. And I knew if I stayed there, it wasn't where I was supposed to be anymore. And it was really hard. And I sobbed my eyes out sitting in that office, and I made the decision to step away, and it was really hard, but it's because I felt, to your question, I felt my why and my purpose was transitioning to something new. And I knew if I ever wrote a book, I'd want to donate 100% of the proceeds, which I am, to Feeding America and Together Rising. But I also know that when we really share our stories, that's when we all come together and get stronger and rise higher and go, oh, I don't want to make that mistake. Or, oh, that's how Jamie handled that person telling her she's not enough. I'm not going to let anyone look me in the eye.
Relatable. The book is so relatable. And I mean, we both have suffered miscarriage, and just sharing that, I think for so many women, there's a shame around that. And there's a scary piece around that. And I remember when I told my community, I felt like I had to tell them because I was just going underground. I needed time to heal and couldn't show up in the same way.
Yeah.
And I received at least 50 emails from women sharing their story and saying thank you and for sharing. And I realized, like, on such a small level, just by me sharing that I went through that and the pain, and that, like, I'm okay and you can keep going and it's normal and there's nothing wrong with you. And so when I was reading that section of your book, I'm like, this is incredible. Just this alone, sharing that, like, this happens and you're okay and you're normal and you can keep going and you can be a huge success and you can have a family, was such a beautiful piece too for women to hear, because that can be devastating. That can stop you from going after your why, you know? So such a big piece.
Yeah. And it's really hard when we're in the midst of struggle and setback. And I, just to share one thing, I did this kind of big book launch event this week where I invited a couple friends to speak. One of them was Robin Roberts of Good Morning America. And she shared something. You just reminded me of that. I want to share in case this also as of service inspires, your whole community too. We were talking about our greatest accomplishments and things like that. And she said something, and Robin has won every award you can possibly win, and she's in the Broadcast Hall of Fame, and she still wakes up all of America, Good Morning America, every single day. She's won every sports award, everything. And she said the things that fulfill her, the things that she is the most proud of in her life, aren't anything she's accomplished. It's the things she's overcome. So the things that literally bring her the most joy, most fulfillment, most that she's most proud of are the things she's overcome.
The biggest opportunity for growth.
Yeah. And just, completely. And then just knowing we're strong enough to get through them and then can be there. Like, I'm sure you're sharing your story, helps everyone else process their own experiences, especially people that have been keeping them to themselves or not really sure or feeling alone in them, right? Feeling like it's just them or something's wrong with them. And, when I was I went through a decade of not being able to carry pregnancy to full term, and had several different times where that was really challenging. And I was hiding it for a long time. None of my employees knew. And we were doing fertility treatments and all the things. And, I felt like my body was betraying me, like my body was failing me, and what was supposed to happen wasn't happening. And there's so many emotions that come with that. I had also found out by surprise I was adopted, and there's so many things. But
you guys have to get the book.
How do you believe in yourself to transform your life, and why self-worth specifically is so important to your personal goals, your business goals, your entire life? Maybe we could start, Jamie, with defining the difference between self-confidence and self-worth.
Whoa. That one question, that is like the power question. I'm so excited you asked that, because for anybody listening to us, watching us right now, this one thing will literally change like your entire life. And, our self-worth is our ceiling. Like, our self-worth is our ceiling in every area of our life, our business, our relationships, our goals and dreams. A lot of people think, I just need to get more skill set or more experience or more, confidence, which is different. And all those things are important. But underneath it all, if you don't believe you are worthy of the thing, it will not come. And so, in life, like, we don't become what we want, we become what we believe we're worthy of. And so self-worth, is literally the one thing that's like the foundation of all of it, that when you learn to build it, can impact your business, your goals, your dreams, what you believe is possible for yourself. So I'm so excited. So, okay. And to your question, self-confidence, while it is so important and so valuable, is actually completely different from self-worth. And most of us, I'll just speak for myself, most of my life, I did not realize that I was pursuing all of these things that built self-confidence but arriving at them, not understanding why I still didn't feel like I was enough, or I still felt like something was missing. And I thought the solution was to work harder and achieve more and level up to the next level. And all of that is an important part of growth and building confidence. But none of it builds self-worth, which is so important because our self-worth is our ceiling. Okay, so let me break it down. I'm really excited about this. So self-confidence, because this is something right now that every single person, every student, every
Yes.
business leader crushing it, does not matter where you're at in your life. When you understand this one thing, it can completely transform your life. Like
Yes.
right now, it's a big thing. So, okay, just to kind of get granular for a minute. So self-confidence, while it's internal, it is so much based on the external. So your self-confidence is how you assess your own skills and abilities, your willingness to try and to go for it, how much of the world's definition of success you feel you have, and how you feel you stack up and compare and measure to others. If you're winning or losing at any moment in time, the studies show the boxer who wins the fight is automatically 30% more confident. Our confidence is fragile. It fluctuates. It rises and falls. Our self-worth, on the other hand, is the deep internal knowing and belief that you are worthy of love and belonging exactly as you are, not as your past or past mistakes or failures, not as your successes and what's happening all around on the outside, but separate from all of that, just exactly as you are, you're fully enough, worthy of love and belonging. And two big things on this. A lot of people worry, okay, let me back up. Self-confidence, okay? Every ad that we see growing up and on television and all the things that well-intended family members often say where they're like, how's your job? How's your kids? We learn to believe once I have great answers to those things, then I should feel enough and like I've made it. We learn through ads that like, oh my gosh, if I get that dream car one day, or the 6-pack abs, or that certain level in my bank account, or the certain job title, then I'm going to finally feel fulfillment and enough. And just to ask everyone who is, listening with us right now and watching us right now, imagine, like, so many of us are achievers, and especially part of your community, we want to be limitless and all the things, which is so important on our journey to fulfillment. And another piece of that is the self-worth. And so for a lot of us, right, if you think about, if you've ever had a big goal or a dream or a hope and you thought, one day when I finally get that thing, like then I'm going to feel fulfilled and happy. And for some of us, it may be a certain level in our business, or it might be finally finding a life partner or getting married and having kids, or, a fitness goal. It could be anything. And then a lot of us, we dream like, oh my gosh, one day when I get that job title or that, whatever it might be. And we work really, really hard, often for years. And then when you finally get that thing that we thought would make us happy and fulfilled, a lot of us arrive at that thing and we're happy for a while. But then before we realize it, we're like, okay, but why am I back to feeling like something's missing, or like this isn't enough, or like I'm not enough? And our answer to that is usually, I just got to work harder. I got to achieve more, get the next thing. And it becomes this never ending cycle where we achieve a lot and we grow a lot and we build a lot of confidence along the way, which is really important. But if we don't have underlying self-worth, we always arrive at those things feeling empty, feeling like something's missing, and just continuing to hustle harder and harder and harder. And it just goes on forever, because all of those achievements will build self-confidence, but none build self-worth. And when it comes to self-worth, a lot of people think, well, wait a minute, especially ambitious people. They're like, if I believe I'm enough just as I am, am I going to lose my ambition? Am I going to lose my edge? And it's like, oh no, when you fully believe you're enough as you are, like I have found, you get more ambitious, because you're now, like, oh, if I go for this thing and fail and fall flat on my face, like it might shake my confidence for a minute, but it cannot touch my self-worth, like who I am. You become more fearless. And so knowing the difference between the two is huge, And there's a lot of great resources out there on self-confidence and on building it, which is, again, so valuable and important, but it is so different from self-worth. And Jim, maybe a lot of people like listening with us can relate to this, but I believed for the longest time that if I achieved enough, I would finally feel enough and I'd finally feel fulfilled. And after spending decades of my life achieving a whole bunch of stuff, and arriving at it, still going, why does it feel like something's missing? Like this is never enough. And learning like, oh, there's a massive difference between self-worth and self-confidence. And self-worth challenges in our lives show up in 3 ways. So I can dive into that if you want me to, for anyone listening, wondering like, well, wait a minute. Okay, this is a new concept. And now do I have issues with self-worth? It really can show up 3 ways in our life.
Yeah. Before we get into the 3 ways, there's a quote in here, and this is kind of what you just said was a mic drop. It's something to the tune of, in life, you don't soar to the level of your hopes and your dreams. You stay stuck at the level of your self-worth. Whether it's in your relationships, your careers, your ambitions, you don't rise to what you believe is possible. You fall to what you believe you're worthy of.
This is a week we are talking about mindset and how important that is to not just have happiness and greater success or fulfillment or connection in your life, but all of those, yes, for sure. But also just so that life doesn't feel like a slog and a burnout experience where just every day you're just like, that's mindset. The tasks of the world aren't you. And the tasks of the world don't need to shape your mindset. Your mindset can shape how you deal with the tasks of the world. And that's a beautiful thing. And Jamie, you were sharing, I don't know what the story is yet, y'all, but she had something happen. You were sharing some mindset or something happened when you checked in the hotel or whatever.
Yeah, this was a crazy morning. So why not share it live? Why not share it live?
I haven't heard the story.
In the Growth Day morning show. So yeah, here's, we're doing a big event Monday. So I flew cross country. I am near Miami and checked into a hotel. And I was out doing my morning walk this morning, right? This is a whole story on mindset that literally moved me to tears this morning. And I want to share it with everyone because I think a lot of people out there might be in a season of, I don't know, just feeling like they're struggling and setbacks and just if like things aren't going your way. I want to talk today, Brendan, about the mindset around not fearing rejection and not fearing what feels like failure at the time.
So cute.
And
so cute.
I was just like blindsided by something out of the blue this morning. So I'm out doing my morning walk in this, in this hotel, my mask on, all the stuff, out doing my morning walk. I walked through a hallway and I was like, whoa, I had a memory that I had forgotten about in this actual hotel 9 years ago. And I want to share it with everybody. So 9 years ago in this hotel, just outside of Miami, there's a big beauty summit there, right? I was a few years into building my company and we had heard no's for a couple years. And I remember my husband and Paulo and I were right here at this very hotel. I had forgotten about this until today. And I walked in the hallway where something happened, exactly where something happened. So it was a huge beauty summit. And this is after a couple years of rejection. And there was, I don't know, maybe 1,000 people there. And Ulta Beauty, which is the largest department store, largest beauty retailer in the country, their CEO was there and their head buyer at the very front table, like this round table. Meanwhile, we're in the very back of the, and I just remember, this moment where I had to muster up all the courage inside of me to beeline straight for that table. After hearing no's for a couple years, went right up to the CEO who normally wouldn't take meetings. It's not the person that told me no, right? It would be a buyer that tells you no. Walked straight up to the CEO, mustered every ounce of courage, trying to forget all the rejection, and just introduced myself. And he introduced me to the head buyer, and I just pitched my heart out to Ulta Beauty. And I remember they agreed to a meeting. So then I walk out of this room, right? It's this ballroom in this hotel. I walk out of this room right into the hallway. in this very hotel I'm in talking to you live from right now, walk out in the hallway and I see the two founders of Gussie Ranker that do all the infomercials, like
Wow.
Proactive, Tony Robbins,
Yeah.
all the infomercials. And I had been pitching them for 2 years and they've been saying no. Their teams had been saying no. So I see Bill Gussie and Greg Wenker in the hall. I've never met them before. Same thing, prayed for strength, prayed for courage, like had to make that decision of mindset, which is, okay, I'm going to forget right now that I've been rejected by them for the past 2 years. I'm going to put that, and I'm not going to fear rejection again right now, because I believe in what I'm doing. And I beelined for the founders of Gussie Ranker right outside
Love
this,
that.
like,
Courage.
a buffet table, right outside
Belief,
the
courage.
thing.
I love it. I love it.
Yes. And they're sitting there snacking on the hors d'oeuvres in between the speaker breaks. I went right up to them, introduced myself, and literally poured my heart, like pitched everything on how they've been saying no for 2 years, but they really should say yes because all the things. So this morning, I had forgotten about this, right? The fact that we could barely afford a hotel room in this hotel in that moment 9 years ago. This morning, I'm out doing my morning walk with my mask, like not even. And all of a sudden I walk through that hallway and every single memory hit me from
I love that.
But the last time I walked through that hallway and what had happened since was right now at this moment, like we got that meeting at Ulta. And right now, live with you, Brendan, that It Cosmetics is the #1 brand in all of Ulta across the country. We got that meeting with Gussie Ranker and we became the most successful makeup infomercial they've ever done. And we are like right now at this moment. And I was standing there like, first of all, I start sobbing, remembering all the rejection, but also just appreciating the hustle, appreciating the journey, appreciating the ability to just figure out how to go from doubting myself to like stepping into going, okay, I'm going to not fear rejection. I'm going to go for it. And sometimes that's what it takes to change everything. So I'm standing there in the hallway, and I start sobbing. Sure, the people working at the hotel are like, but I'm like, wow, I forgot those moments even happened. And I'm walking through them this morning here, getting ready for this huge event. And I don't know, just reminded me of Growth Day morning show all week and how we're talking about the power of mindset and just making the decision to not be afraid of rejection and failure. Just making that decision is huge, huge.
And the courage and the mindset. I bet people watching this right now have had one of those full circle moments, right? That is a full circle. Some people call it a full circle moment. We've always called it a full courage moment. Mm-hmm. A full courage moment is when you lost the battle, but you kept going. And then you have a victory, and in that victory, you recognize like a serendipity or a moment, or what Paulo Coelho would call an LF, and it just happens, and it's like this space where, like, it's almost like a time space where the past and the current moment kind of collide and remind you of your strength, remind you of what you've been through, remind you of something important to your spirit, or remind you of a moment that was important to your life, and that LF or that full circle or that full courage moment. I bet you all have had that. So if you had one, type it down below, just share it with us. I'd love to see it in the comments. Like, what was a full courage moment or a full circle moment where, you labored and maybe you lost or you were rejected, it didn't work out. And then one day, bam, it was like, it all came together and you remembered it. I love those. I've had those in my publishing career quite a bit, of places I went to read or research or write. And then I, later saw my book there and it was like, oh my gosh, or places that, similar, where I sat in a seminar at a conference, and it wouldn't be later until I was on the stage speaking later to literally thousands or tens of thousands of people in an arena. And it would hit me, I was there. I was in your seat. I sat in that seat, and I could literally remember the seat, and I'd walk out to the seat and I go, I was sitting in your seat 5 years ago. And then we're like, oh my God, I'm like, right here. And I'd pull the person up on stage with me, and I'd be like, you're me. And we'd have this conversation, because I think those are magical. I think that you need to take a picture of that hallway and do a little reel on it or something on your Instagram today or on your stories, and make sure everyone, you're all following Jamie on Instagram so you can see that story. That's beautiful, Jamie. Congratulations. That's just full courage moment.
Yeah. And it just reminded me. And I think, there's so many, I mean, not to just go deep on this, but when it comes to women in particular, and it can be everybody, but women in particular, so many of us don't try things because we're afraid of failure, or we're afraid of rejection, or afraid we're not going to do it perfectly, or we're not qualified, all those kind of things. And I was reminded of that this morning, because just the idea of not fearing rejection too. Yes, of course, of being courageous. Yes, of course, of going for it, all tied together, but just like being okay. Sarah Blakely, founder of Spanx, talks about how growing up at the family table, at the dinner table, every single day, her dad would ask them, they go around the table and he'd say, tell me something you failed at today. It wasn't like, oh, tell me something you won at. It was, tell me something you failed at. And they'd all go around the table. And it was this idea of normalizing failure, not being afraid of it. And it's like that whole idea of like, oh my gosh, if we didn't fear failure. And I know, and you say this a lot, no matter how small you start something that matters, right? And so many people
I also say people don't feel failure, and people don't fear starting. They fear being embarrassed when they're seen starting small.
Yeah.
See, when people have a lot of success, and like people who achieve something in their lives and they go to do something again, they know when they fail, it's like, oh, that's part of the process. But when you're beginning, you're so terrified. What does other people think of me? I'm going to be embarrassed because they think I'm this, but I'm trying to do that. Or if it doesn't work out, and we get everyone else's judgments up in our brains, and we forget that their judgments are, one, usually not qualified, and two, time bound. And I'll give you the example of what you just talked about. Your nose that you got from, the beauty company, from Guthy, but also a lot of other things that you share about in your book, Believe It. And you even say this in your book, Believe It. The nose, like the first pitch that you got from L'Oreal to buy It Cosmetics.
Yeah.
It was a no. And that time was perfect. You weren't, or I'm sorry, from Alan, even on QVC, like talking about, oh, he said no for you being on QVC, which was a great thing because you weren't ready yet.
Yeah. And I sometimes just didn't know it.
The no's are just preparing you. The no's are going to go, oh, go get better, kid. It's not a no forever. It's a no in that slice of time. And that's what happened. In that moment of time, previously they had rejected her, but now they're open. Time marches on. And here's what I would tell people. You want believers, you want people to believe and cheer on you. Guess where they're not? They like in a marathon, yeah, your family's there at the beginning clapping you to start. But you get the believers at the finish line. You get you get the real supporters with momentum. You want believers, get momentum. So Guthy and others didn't believe in Jamie because she didn't have the level of momentum yet that was required to play it at their level or what they were comfortable with. And then she went and kicked ass, right? She just went and just demolished the marketplace. She gobbled up the marketplace and everyone's like, oh my God, Jamie, It Cosmetic. And then they had to take notice. They had to take notice. They had to get on the Jamie train. Otherwise, they were going to miss out because it was clear this thing was leaving town and it was taking the future with it. And I just want you to understand that. So for all those who are freaked out, first, don't con yourself. The greatest gift you can ever give yourself is not conning yourself, not lying to yourself. You're not scared to start small. You're embarrassed about the judgments that might come from other people. Get over that. Grow up. We're out of high school. Let's get on with it, okay? Second, that was mean. Second, you want believers, get momentum. Keep fighting for it. I love the mindset Jamie had of you don't stop asking, growing, and pushing, even if people don't get it at certain points. But also she didn't hold any bitterness against them for saying no earlier. She was still willing to push and try. She didn't hold the bitterness that prevented her from not going for them. She didn't go like, oh, those people, they're like this and they'll never accept me. She said, one day you're going to accept me because I'm going to prove myself. So I love that.
Another part of this too, is sometimes we're embarrassed to whether it's beeline to the front of the room where we don't have a seat at the table or whatever it is, right? Where we think, what if I go try this and get rejected again or fail or all those things? But people actually, what I've learned, now that I can look back on all this, and now that so many of these people that said no to me for years, now I know them really well. Now we have partnerships together. Now I know they
You
share
hired some of them. The people who
did.
rejected her, she ended up hiring them. She became their boss. She was the person they belittled, and then she became their boss.
All things are possible. But no, it's actually fascinating. You know, even with Sephora, who's a great partner today, they're a big beauty retailer, great partner, awesome, of It Cosmetics. They said no for about 6 years, even after we had become huge. And because I kept going back every time I get knocked down, because I kept being told no, being rejected, and didn't take it personal, I kept going back. By the end, I think that they had a lot of respect. They're like, okay. And same with L'Oreal, by the way, because it was 3 years before it became a yes. It was 3 years of meetings. And I think that the way you handle rejection too, and the way you're able to show resiliency and courage and get back up, that actually can make other people want to partner with you, regardless of how they feel about your product or service. I think when you see what people are made of over time. And so I think there's something powerful to that too, is also just in that journey, how you handle it, not just inside your own mindset, but also how you show up to everyone else around you, even the people rejecting you and doubting you, when you really want to just get mad and be like, F you, but you want to do that. It's a human part of us, right? But that doesn't serve anybody. It's like when you don't take it personally and you just keep going and keep getting back up and keep believing it's going to happen, whether it does or doesn't ever. I think that's huge in terms of how much respect other people develop for you in the journey of building your own company or launching your own dream or building your own friendships and relationships.
And if she'd stopped at the first no, there wouldn't have been a second yes. And once you realize that in life, and listen, if they both had said no, we would probably still be here. Like Jamie would find a way. I'll keep this private, but I consult I coach another major super female entrepreneur who everyone respects. And one time she said to me, I'm going to keep it private because she said it in private, but it was a great metaphor about something she was going through. She shared that, her belief was that sometimes there isn't a seat at the table for you because you're not ready. Or if you're not invited at the table enough, you're not standing out enough or communicating or speaking up to share your wins and your successes. Or she said, if you try to pull up the chair or you're not invited to the chair or whatever, she goes, go build your own table. Go start your own company where you buy the conference table and you hire people to sit there and you work on the same thing. Like the idea that we have to wait to be at something. Like I didn't wait to be at the publishing world. I self-published my first book. And that changed the course of my career forever because they all said no to me. So I had all these rejections. I've had every book I've ever done, I had rejections on from multiple publishers. And some of those books became like literally industry or field defining genres. Like Motivation Manifesto is still to this day the best-selling motivation title of the century, which is insane to think about.
How cool is that? How cool is that?
After the company that gave me the deal said, not only did they give me the deal, when I turned the book in, they said, no, Jamie. They said, we don't like the book. We think it's terrible. You need to add more fluffy stories. And they basically, as best they could, completely insult my artistic integrity. And I had to decide, either I change the book for them or I say, I'm going to take my book and go somewhere else, which was a super hard decision for Denise and I at the time in my life, because they had already given us the money. I'd already spent it probably, it's like, oh my God. But now they hate the book but I love the book.
And you didn't want to change it.
No, that book comes out, and that's the book that got me, that's the book Oprah interviewed me for her magazine. That's the book that, Meghan Markle puts in her top 5 books of all time. That's the book that, it's the thing at the launch time was the little black book that all the celebrities are reading, because it was just like, it was such a different thing, and it took off. And if I had just quit because they said no, or they really did insult me. I mean, you talk about in judgment. They questioned whether or not I was drugs. They asked me literally, were you on drugs when you were writing this? It was just like, I'm like, I barely drink milk, people. I barely drink milk. Coffee is like,
when you have one coffee, you're like,
I'm like, everyone thinks there's coffee in this every morning. It's just water in there, people. Like, so I'm just letting you say, but I kept going. So this is a story, and this is a mindset today, ladies and gentlemen, of don't worry about the no's, because if it is true dream to you, if it is sown in your heart to fulfill that desire and dream, you keep going. Even if your spouse doesn't understand, even if your parents or your, mother-in-laws or your old cousins or your neighbors down the block are making fun of you at the barbecue, who cares? Your dream wasn't made for them. Your dream was made for you.
So Motivation Manifesto, tell me if I'm remembering this right also. Isn't this the book? I know Oprah interviewed you for it, but didn't she let you know it was on her bedside table?
Oh my God, yeah, yeah. So Denise and I are at her house. She was throwing her book. So talk about full circle moment. Oprah is throwing her book launch party at her house and invites about, I think there's like 300 of us there. And like the Super Soul 100 members, which, we're part of, and all these other things. Anyway, we go there. And there's all these, and they're super slight, like Julia Roberts and Reese Witherspoon, and Jeff Bezos is literally there from Amazon. It's just
wait, Brendan Burchard was there.
No, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Denise and I totally don't feel like we're sitting like next to Dr. Phil during her talk, and like all these, Alicia Keys is on stage. It's just crazy, unbelievable. One of the most magical things I'd ever been invited to in my life, and we're sitting there. We're not having imposter syndrome, but we're just recognizing like, wow, this is another caliber of group of people here. And afterwards, there was like this amazing barbecue. Oprah always gets the food right. I mean, let me tell you, her whole team. So anyway, we're all there. I don't think I'm going to see her or talk to her. I really want to introduce Denise to her, but I don't think it's going to happen because there's so many people there. Anyway, at some point, Oprah's doing the rounds. She comes around, and I'm standing there. I think I was with Gabby and Marie, Forleo, and Jack Canfield. Oh gosh, I'm blinking. There's 4 or 5 of us standing there. And she comes up, and I introduced Denise, and I don't remember how it happened, but we were talking about the books or something. And then I said something about, oh yeah, I remember our interview in New York, Motivation Manifest. She goes, do you remember? She says, I have your book on my bedstand right now upstairs. I always have it there. And I was like, and all of our mouths dropped, and I was like, I don't think I said another word. I just think I was like, I think I just stood there dumb for like, I don't even remember when she left at that point. I literally just, all circuits shut off. I just stood there. After she left, I do remember at some point during the party pulling Denise aside and go, hey, did Oprah come up to us and say this thing about me? Because I thought maybe I was daydreaming. I thought I was crazy.
You're like, Denise, did this really happen?
Plus they had this barbecue and this punch there, and I'd had too much of the punch thingy. So I was like, did that happen, y'all? Anyway, it was a magical. And then I can't tell you the number of people. If y'all search Motivation Manifesto on YouTube, we have this video of like all these, like Ariana Huffington reading from it, the late great Larry King reading from it, the actor who played Superman, then Miss Universe, like all these people are reading the Harvey Mackay, a legend in our industry. They're just reading from the book because it sounds so cool. And it just grew and grew and grew into this thing. And I wouldn't have any of these goofy stories, and Jamie wouldn't have had her I'll laugh moment this morning in the hotel. Those moments of serendipity, or those moments of reward, or those moments of like extraordinary, wow, is this my dream? Did this really happen? Only comes after the mindset of courage says, keep going. Yeah. You have a dream. You don't need everyone to approve. Get momentum, work hard, keep your head down, keep your voice up, keep your faith up, keep showing up. And all of a sudden, one day, it's like, wow, look at what happened. I mean, look what happened. Jamie's probably in the presidential suite up in there. Let me tell you, people. I'm just saying, she's probably figured out, like Jamie's such an extraordinary, outstanding success story. And to know her humility, knowing how she must have felt walking down that hallway.
I was sobbing this morning, Brendan. I was just like, wow. You know, these words came to me. They're famous words that say, pray like it's all up to God and work like it's all up to you. And I just like those words just came to me because the journey, right? It's the journey. It's not even the outcome or the destination, but I'm just having this moment too, hearing your story. And I just want to share that one piece again for everyone listening, because I know a lot of people are just hopping on the morning show. I think it's something like 15,000 people or something, like hop on and off throughout the morning across all the platforms. It's some crazy number that's awesome. But what I want to share just is
this week, y'all, I just want to shout out, thank you for that.
Yeah.
For the audience, you all, thank you for inviting your friends. Thank you for watching the replays, especially across Facebook. Our replays are crazy because across all our pages and our groups and the show on Instagram, this week will be the week we pass 1 million views of this Growth Day morning show. Like this, just good-hearted, good-willed, good-spirited show that we do for Growth Day. This Growth Day morning show will pass 1 million views in our first month doing it, more or less, or second month. I don't know where we're at. But it's really because people just go, you know what? I'd love to start my morning in personal development. Because when I put that in my ears, that rewires my brain. It sets my expectations. It helps me approach the day with confidence and joy and aliveness. And I thank Jamie for being here with us for this because, listen, we're all here for you all, just trying to keep going, trying to keep you inspired, trying to bring a little bit of joy into your heart.
I love it. I love this show. We did not know how it was going to go. And this is week 5 or week 6. We still don't know. But we're all here together. We're all in this together, the Growth Day morning show. But the one thing I just want to share one more time, Brandon, is like, you just shared that journey of Motivation Manifesto and shared how like you did a book deal for it and the publisher hated it, didn't like what you did, asked if you were on drugs writing it. And you made this tough decision to take it back. And now we're talking about how many people all over the world it's impacted, how you're standing in Oprah's yard and she's telling you how it's on her bedside table and you're able to introduce your wife to her. There's people right now going through this season where someone just told them something they're doing is total crap or isn't going to make it or doesn't have what it takes. And I just think stories like this are so powerful because sometimes like the power of stories is that we hang on to them and then they help remind us, oh yeah, like Brendan, went on that journey and I just got told the same thing. I can too. You know what I mean? And that's why I love the power of story. And I love this morning show so much because it's like we're all sharing this space together.
Ladies and gentlemen, rock this house and welcome to the stage, Jamie Kern Lima! Kern Lima!
Every single one of us has had someone tell us we're not enough. Every single one of us has had someone say words to us that hurt.